Threats against you, a primary challenger, his campaign establishment appears to be poised to try and contest you.
It feels just like 2020, March 27th, 2020, when I was the only one to oppose the CARES Act. The president threatened me. I got 81% of the vote. And then what happened? The spending bill caused all this massive inflation that we see now.
Ladies and gentlemen, now it's too late with Khalil Mahmoud.
You're yelling. Why are you yelling?
Come on.
I'm sensitive. Don't do that. Guys, welcome back for another episode of It's Too Late. I am your host, Alan Mosley, joined as always by the #1 producer in late night. It's Dave Willimowski. Dave, how are you doing?
Doing good.
Yeah?
Yeah, living the dream, you know, just gotta push a little harder. We're doing great. How you doing?
I just gotta make it to Friday.
Yep.
Just gotta make it to Friday. It's another one of those weeks, man. Man, I actually have a lot going on that I'm gonna share with you later.
Oh, that's fun.
So, stay tuned.
All right.
Ooh. So for anybody who has been keeping up with social media or the news this week, you'll know that President Donald Trump is once again at odds with Congressman Thomas Massie of Kentucky. This is what he had to say on Truth Social just this week, in regards, of course, to Thomas Massie's no vote on the continuing resolution. Congressman Thomas Massie of beautiful Kentucky, such a Trump, is an automatic no vote on just about everything, despite the fact that he has always voted for continuing resolutions in the past. That's a lie. He should be primaried, all caps, and I will lead the charge against him. He's just another grandstander, all caps, who's too much trouble and not worth the fight. He reminds me of Liz Cheney before the rhetoric. Or a historic record-breaking fall. But by the way, if you're comparing Liz Cheney to Thomas Massie, you've lost the plot. The people of Kentucky won't stand for it. Just watch. All caps. Do I have any takers? He's actually drumming up support to go after Massie as we speak. But just in case you thought that this was just a little emo rage from Trump, he actually doubled down on a future tweet right here. He said, in quotation marks, Congressman Thomas Massie. He's already written him off as unemployed. He goes on to say he can't even approve a CR when he improved them many times during his career as a congressman. So that highlighted part right there is actually the emphasis of Thomas Massie himself, because he pointed out that actually, in fact, any CR that he's voted for never actually became law, because the only ones he's ever voted for would also contain spending caps or assurances of future cuts. Well, of course, those don't actually pass, do they? They only pass the ones without the cuts. For people who are getting a little deja vu, it's because all of this is exactly like the year 2020. You might recall when Trump turned into a big pharma lockdown socialist and demanded spending with no accountability. Then Massie courageously went to Washington and he demanded a recorded vote where he said, quote, to make sure our republic doesn't die by unanimous consent in an empty chamber. And he was the only one. We have here in Massie's own words from March of 2020, he said, quote, the stimulus package that just passed is the biggest wealth transfer from common folks to the super rich, Wall Street and bankers, in the history of mankind. Done in the name of a virus with $1,200 checks as the cheese in the trap. This will be obvious in short order. And of course, as we all know, Massie was completely vindicated for being the only Republican to oppose the CARES Act. You might actually recall that Massie had to endure a primary challenge after his stance due to COVID that same year as a result. And of course, as you can see here, his constituents thought just a teensy bit more about their man than the juvenile wailing from the White House. Look at that 81% of the vote.
Right.
Of course, that wouldn't be the only challenge to his seat in Congress that he would face. Do you remember his interview with Tucker Carlson late last year where he said everyone in Congress has an AIPAC guy? Remember that?
Nope.
Everyone in Congress has an AIPAC guy, someone from AIPAC that comes into town and takes you out to lunch and essentially tells you, look, this is how you're going to vote and this is when you're going to do it. We tell you to jump, you say how high, of course, for our greatest allies. Now, everyone except Massie, of course, because while you can tour the halls of Congress and see Israeli flags strewn about from doors left and right, you'll actually find this right here on Congressman Massie's door. No foreign lobbying, America first.
That's right.
No surprise that he's about the only member of Congress that is not bought and paid for by Israel. You can see his AIPAC tracker right there. Not a cent. It's about the only one you're going to find, by the way, which is a lot more than can be said for all the other lizard people in Washington. And of course, the little hats are saying they'll back Trump with however much money it takes to kick Massie to the curb. Though for people who can remember all the way back to the golden age of 2024, when they too tried to fund a primary challenge against Massie. And boy, that was I thought those people were good with money. That's
I remember
weird.
that, yeah.
Yeah. Massie should be the last member of Congress to be voted out. But while we're on the subject of primaries and replacements, how come Trump never threatened Lisa Murkowski of Alaska or Suzanne Collins of Maine or, of course, cocaine Mitch McConnell, who just this term voted against his appointees? Trump didn't offer to lead the charge against warmongers like Lindsey Graham or Dan Crenshaw or Tom Cotton, blood-soaked monsters who never saw a dollar they didn't want to spend and never saw a war they didn't want your children to die in. What about the Republicans who went running for cover during Russiagate instead of standing by the president? Because you'll recall, Massie didn't run. He actually stood by Trump, saying that it was all bogus from the start. If you need someone to blame, how about we start with Republican Speaker Mike Johnson, the man who was happy to cave on every single glimmer of hope for reducing spending if it meant being able to rush his Democrat friends' bills to the floor. You know, here's the complaints you hear. They say, we need unity. We need Trump needs time to work on things like this. We must pass this continuing resolution. We're not ready for this fight. Well, why not? Why aren't we ready for this fight? You have the House and the Senate and the presidency. What exactly are you waiting for? If you think you're going to have larger majorities in the next 6 months to a year, you know what? The midterms are right around the corner, and you're never going to have as much approval as you do right now. By attacking people like Congressman Massie, they may very well lose the House and the Senate, not have more Republicans in the House and Senate. You also hear, well, if we don't pass the CR, there will be a government shutdown. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Like, was that supposed to, was that going to persuade me of? And also, by the way, for all the people saying things like, well, I don't see Massie suggesting anything. What's your plan? Well, maybe if you'd actually open your eyes and quit listening to Conservative Inc. for 5 minutes, you'd see that Massie has actually laid out several different plans for you. You can stop the omnibus bills. You can break things down into separate pieces. Make a flat percentage cut across the board now, and then start cutting department by department later. But quit funding the programs that Doge has exposed. Which, by the way, speaking of that, Doge has been completely smoke and mirrors. For any of the waste, fraud, and abuse that they have uncovered, they haven't actually saved a cent. You do understand that, right? The money is still getting spent. It's just having to be, it maybe gets moved around from a complete boondoggle to a slightly less complete boondoggle. And then with this CR, it's a continuing resolution. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Biden's budget that is substantially unchanged. So for all the people that voted for Trump because they had their fill of Bidenomics, they just voted for 6 more months of Biden's budget. And the one Republican who dares stand up and say, wait, this is not what the American people voted for, they want to primary him. How about you primary every single damn Republican in Congress except for Thomas Massie?
Oh, man. I need an applause button.
You
got it over there? That's all right. It's too late. Yeah, I missed it. I don't know.
Dave.
Oh.
Stop.
I don't know. I enjoy it.
Great.
So guys, we're going to be back with the meme of the week in the viewer mail right after this commercial break. Don't go away. We've got some people watching the show all of a sudden.
Oh,
how about that?
No way. Wow.
Now I'm all tired.
Yeah.
Just, worn out.
Spent.
You will be unusually successful in business.
Oh. Gonna Start doing some
I
business.
feel like that's a backhanded compliment because they're saying you'll be unusually successful. Because like normally you're a failure in business, but now you'll do okay.
They set the bar pretty low there. Yeah.
Damn Chinamen and their fortune cookies. Hey Dave,
Yes, Alan.
what time is it?
It's time for meme of the week.
Feeling all right?
Oh, sure. It's just that everything's been so crazy today. The Joker's girl squirted on me.
Get this man to a hospital now!
Oh,
What?
what? What?
Man, that old Batman cartoon was something else.
Wow.
Go back and watch it today. There's some wild stuff in there. But we do have a bonus meme. Check out the bonus meme. Oh no.
Well, that's a good one.
Oh god, watch the eyes.
Oh, they're watching me.
Yeah, I know. That's creepy. There's hundreds of those out there, but I kind of like that one. Yeah,
Yeah, that
all right.
one's a good version.
Let's answer some viewer mail.
Moving right along.
I love that sound. Justin Campbell writes, Dear Alan and Dave, with March Madness upon us, will the SEC let its fans down in the dance after such a dominant regular season?
Ooh.
Justin's trying to derail this this show with sports talk, and we're already over by 7 minutes.
Yeah.
When y'all realize how hot this week's guest segment is, you'll understand. So Justin, no, SEC's going all the way.
I agree.
No, you don't. You don't even
I like. Yeah. Why not?
name 7 SEC teams. Go.
You could have just asked for one.
You could Alabama, Tennessee.
I don't know what any of this stuff means.
I hate you. You know that. You know that though, right? Okay. Ryan Seifert writes, Dear Alan and Dave, what is your favorite kind of nuts? And do you like big nuts or small nuts? But you like these nuts, am I right?
Oh, got him. Or me?
Right, come on. You big nut fan, Dave?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I like it. I like.
Oh, you like it, do you?
Pecan pie. I like the pecan pie.
Okay. All right.
So there's that.
Yeah,
Cashews
okay.
are good. They're not too dry.
Mhm.
But I don't go out of my way to get them.
Yeah, I've never been a big nut person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
Andrew Avey writes, Dear Alan and Dave, do you play guitar by ear or do you use your fingers? I mean, as a guitar player, I actually use my fingers. Well, I use what's left of my fingers, but
Oh yeah.
yeah, that's a callback for the old school watchers of the show. Gary Dykstra writes, Dear Alan and Dave, if you had access to a time machine, what year would you travel to, and what's the first thing you'd do when you got there? Your mom.
Oh wow. Oh, got him.
Yeah,
So-
man, we're just jumping on everybody's case tonight.
Singers. Yeah.
I would. Well, see, here's the thing. I think we've talked about this on the show before. If you're going to do a time machine, you don't want to go. You don't want to go too far back because in your mind's eye, you think, oh man, everything was so nice and simpler back then. But you're going to get back there, and you're going to be like, can't check Twitter.
No.
Where's my phone? What am I good? I can't go back to reading the shampoo bottle when I'm taking a dump. Like
Oh my gosh.
we put
Those are hard
exactly
times.
right. Like your kids won't even know. They don't even know what I just said. They're like, what?
They don't. Yeah.
What do you mean?
Why would you do
read
that?
the shampoo bottle? Who would do that? That's so weird. Well, you know what? Times were hard, but we made it. I could take the easy way out and just be like, I'm just gonna go back to like 2007 and just sell everything I own and just buy Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Like it'll be hard for a few years and then y'all won't know me. You know what I'm saying? Y'all won't know me.
Never met him.
Let's see. Aaron Kittner writes, Dear Alan and Dave, if you were only allowed one form of entertainment for the rest of your life, what would you choose? I.e., movies, music, video games, board games, etc. The clarification was for Dave.
Oh, that's nice.
All right, are you and Aaron okay? Are y'all having some kind of falling out? Or
No. I thought we were okay. He always wants me to play his movie, and he just doesn't get it. Maybe that's why he's angry.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, I guess if I was only afforded one, I'd probably see. I am a musician, so you think, oh, Alan will pick music. Nah, dude, I'm just gonna brain rot out to some video games till I die.
That's right. That's the only option.
Me and Dave are gonna disarm bombs for the rest of the time.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Get good. We get real good at that.
Yeah. That's why we quit streaming it, because we got too good at it.
Yeah, it got boring. It got too serious.
Yeah. Nobody wanted to see us live. They wanted to see us die.
Fight and die.
Well, you and Aaron work things out, all right?
Yeah. We'll see
Josh Wright writes, Dear Alan and Dave, can the signal for a sock collar reach cross country? And why have we not forced Dave to wear one? What is going on with you? Is there something going on that I'm not aware of?
I'm usually a pretty nice guy. I don't know why everybody's coming after me. And I'm not, a sock collar.
Yeah. Okay. Apparently, you need to be kept under control.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
I just want to mention really quick before we move on. Swole Skeesley writes, we had the Victoria's Secret catalog instead of Pornhub.
Oh yeah, right.
Did
Maybe
we
even the Sears flyer? Yeah, I didn't have that.
Perhaps you did, Ryan. But I don't know about we. Just putting that out there. This is
the Sears ad.
After such a banger start to the show, this has gone off the rails.
Yeah.
We got to stop. You always think it's a good idea to interact with the audience, and then you do it, and then you realize that's why you don't. Guys, we're going to be back with tonight's guest, Tyler Janke of the Libertarian Podcast Review, right after this commercial break. Don't go away.
There exists a world that you can only reach between 4:20 and 4:22 a.m. Before you travel, I must advise you of a few rules. Rule number 1. If you hear the song Daisy Bell, cover your ears immediately. If you don't, you will develop an uncontrollable urge to sing, and if you wait too long, you will be trapped here, singing forever. Rule number 2. If you see a tall man with no eyes, stay as quiet as possible and do not acknowledge him. He is tracing the sound of your steps, and he's only following you for one reason. He wants your eyes. Rule number 3. When midnight arrives, hide in the shadows. As terrifying and difficult that may seem, trust me on this. The things in this world prey in the light. Rule number 4, the most important of them all. Avoid being anxious or fearful. The environment around you is in a constant flux. It responds to your thoughts and emotions. If you fail to remain positive, this reality will twist into a nightmarish version of itself. That's all. Stay safe.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. Our guest this evening is, of course, an avid cyclist, as well as an attorney who specializes in family law. And he also happens to be the host of Libertarian Podcast Review, which you can get on all platforms. Just search LPR. Just do it. Just see what happens. It's Libertarian Podcast Review. That's, of course, Tyler Janke. Welcome back to the show.
Wow, thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it. Avid cyclist. Thanks for pointing that out. That's just going to give me more hate. I don't know how I feel about that.
I know, an avid cyclist attorney. But I tell you what, at least tell us this. You surely don't ride your bike to work.
Not lately. I used to, and only because I'm in my work like 15 minutes or so from here. So it's a good way to get a ride in. And no, I don't really do much. I do have a shower at work and locker room. So.
Okay. All right. So you're always tempted to, is what you're saying. It's always a possibility.
My wife is always trying to prod me to do it. That's how it.
Well, before we get into some of the kind of hot topics from this week, well, let me ask you really quick about that. Any interesting news lately from the family law practice? Any interesting cases? Any big wins, big W's?
Oh, yeah, I've had some big wins recently. And I won't go into a bunch of detail, but it's a client. Wife accused him. They're married for 13 or so years. Wife accused him of marital rape. And so there's a restraining order. And so we went to trial on that. And the standard for those is very easy. Opposing counsel before this 2-day trial, he's like, look, we're easily going to win this. And he's just going on like, oh, well, trying to work out a deal maybe to avoid it. But he's so cocky. I actually said to him, I go, are you going to trial for your ego or your client? And he blew up at me. And by the way, we won. So kudos to me. And it was even more glorious when he was so, just grading on me about his he said, he goes, I make 8 figures. I have a personal plane. And then he had like a cyber truck too. And he was just so cocky. It was just wonderful. So.
Well, you've heard it here first, folks. Tyler arguing successfully that, of course, a woman is a man's property. Therefore, she cannot be raped. She can only be used. I'm sure that was the way that you argued it in court. But that's great to hear. We have a few different lawyers that have appeared on the show, that different specialization, different states. And I know lots of things are the same, but also lots of things can be very different law, different parts of the country. But one thing I do want to say really quick to brag on you before we get into it is I've watched a number of your streams, particularly where you're talking about you're commenting on some case in the news, something that's going on, maybe some influencer, somebody, and saying, well, this is my opinions on X, Y, and Z. But you typically preface that with, but look, I'm a family attorney. I don't, I can't comment on any great deal on this grand jury indictment X, Y, and Z because that's not my specialty. But oftentimes you're pointing that out, you're not degrading yourself. You're actually degrading the other attorneys on LawTube who do talk like they know everything, even though a good attorney, I assume, would say you don't, in fact, know everything about every type of law there is.
I appreciate that. But yeah, even going to trial or what, you have to know what you don't know. And then kind of work from there. And if I'm going to pontificate, it's really easy to go on here. You see this, Robert Barnes is a great example. He knows everything about everything. And he's the Jim Cramer of predicting legal stuff. He's horrible. Okay. And he does it just to grift. So if you're out there and you're like, I'm a big Robert Barnes fan. Okay. Well, go check on the things he said and how they work out in real life. But for me, I'm like, I'm not super smart, so I'm just going to stick to my lane. But it is fun to make comments about stuff. But yeah, it's good to know what you don't know, and then be honest about that. It doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help your reputation if you're continually wrong.
Well, thank God you didn't name any names to preclude us from getting any potential guests on the show.
You can edit that.
No, I'm just kidding. There's no chance in hell Robert Barnes would ever be on the show. But the first topic I wanted to talk about, which is something I know that you've spoken about on your program, something that you were very passionate about. Folks at home will remember this little image from a couple of weeks ago. The right-wing grifters. Grifter is quickly becoming Nazi. I feel like everyone's a grifter, and so now that word doesn't mean anything anymore. So I'm trying to use it less. But the Con Inc., all the right-wing influencers of Con Inc., which I think is the way that they themselves were listed in their own headlines, when this came out in the news, walking out of the White House after a whole day of being wined and dined by the president and getting their little commemorative coins, to celebrate the occasion of being handed these binders. And then talking about one of the biggest falling flats, I think, in White House history is these people walking out with these binders filled with information that was both A, like already available to the public, and B, theirs was actually more redacted than things you could just go Google and find yourself. So tell us a little bit about the folks in that picture and just how stunned and destroyed their credibility are.
Well, they should be destroyed, and they're not going to be. Now, what's really, you have to understand it. And so there's Liz Wheeler. I think she works for The Blaze. Jack Posobiec, DC Drano. He's just one of the worst. I hope you don't ever have him on your show. Chaya Raichik, who's the Libs of TikTok. Emily Austin, Chad Prathers, Cernovich. I think I got them all. Those are the people. So they go in there, they come out, they have these binders, and it's a nothing burger. Now, and by the way, Pam Bondi should be lambasted for this whole debacle, as well as all these people. Now, there's people out there, and Clint Russell as an example, friend of mine, but he was saying, look, these people were kind of hijacked, right? They didn't know what was happening, and even Ian Carroll was saying that, because their claim is they went to the White House, they got invited there, and then these binders were handed to them, and then they came out, they were embargoed, blah blah blah. So they didn't really know what was going on. Okay, that sounds good. But the problem is Liz Wheeler goes on Glenn Beck, and she does like a 15-minute interview breaking this down. Now, first of all, they were used and they were humiliated by Pam Bondi, but then they go and they support her. There's a few reasons for that. But first of all, why were they invited to the White House? Why were they even there getting their little coins, right? They were there, or was it a button? I think it was a coin. Now, they were invited there as what they consider alternative media. Liz Wheeler kept mentioning this. And what she means by that is, look, we have Biden, we have, Obama, and they're the news media, she says, MSNBC and CNN, they're despicable. They just go along, they're a rug mat for these people. So we are invited there because Trump is now opening it up to alternative media. These were the people selected for alternative media. Okay, with that in mind, are they going there to be alternative lapdogs, or do you want them to be alternative media? She kept saying media, journalists, right? So they go in there. Pam Bondi, I don't know if she got actual the clearance from the White House, but she goes in there and they said Kash Patel and her come in there and they say, here's these binders, these Epstein phase 1. We're going to give them to you. Please know there's nothing of substance in here. Liz Wheeler says Pam Bondi told her that. So 1, there's nothing of substance that they're getting. 2, she says there's going to be an embargo. You can't talk about this for X many hours. And then they have their phones, and then they go out and they do this photo shoot. So think about this. And I made fun of these people because Stelter, all these loser alternative, the former drug mat media, would they fall for this with Trump? Likely not. I mean, they would fall for this with Biden, and we would mock them for that. So we should be mocking these things. Why? Because they went there as alternative media, and then they got run over, and they willingly just take it. And then you're supposed to be like, oh, these poor people. No, these are all useless. And so then I did today. I went and did a little breakdown, and I wanted to see each one of these people, because they can't, as an example, rip Pam Bondi, because if they rip Pam Bondi, they're not going to get their access to the White House. Now, is their access to the White House what you want, or do you want them to be alternative media? I'm going to emphasize alternative media over and over because that's what they think they are, but they're not. Okay, so this is rightfully happening to them because they don't push back. They're just going to be worked over like some third-rate horror that you've gone through. And sorry for the family folks out there. But with that in mind, right, you've got Pam Bondi does this, and then they need access. So they're not going to come out and say anything bad about her. So I looked online for each one of them today. Have you said anything about Thomas Massie? None of them have said anything about Thomas Massie but one, and it was Cernovich. And he said, look, this isn't the hill to die on. And he just kind of like, this doesn't make sense. Okay, now in his credit, he was there at the White House too. He comes out. He did look like he was hiding. I heard him saying something like, he goes, I was trying to avoid everything. Okay, so maybe Cernovich is the only one that's credible on this whole thing. Maybe. But everyone else was either taking Trump's position against Thomas Massie, and we could talk about that at another point. I was just curious to see where they're going to come out, where it's such an obvious thing to just say, look, maybe I want Thomas Massie to vote for this, but he shouldn't be talking about primarying this guy. I mean, he's the most Doge-like person in Congress. So anyway, that's the start. And if you want, I did another dive on Pam Bondi, which we can talk about as well, which I think there's a few things. Kash Patel, first, he says in an interview, first day in office, if I'm FBI, I'm going to close it down and turn it into a museum of the deep state. Well, he didn't do that. Pam Bondi, I mean, she was a foreign. This is great. She registered as a foreign agent for Qatar and then Kuwait 2 different times when she was no longer in the government between the Trump stuff. And she registered and she lobbied. She was a registered lobbyist for them. And then the first thing she does when she comes into office, one of the first acts is to she halted a department that investigates foreign actors, and then she reappointed money for FARA, the Foreign Agent Registration Act, to other things. So, I don't know what to say about this other than Israel. I think that's the
well,
just end it with that.
That was actually going to be my follow-up questions, because we can get into a deeper dive about Pam Bondi if you want to. Before we get there, just to call out the happy merchant in the room. So I think what a lot of people suspect is that when they initially announced, okay, well, this is going to be phase 1. I know that we're just kind of rehashing old information, but listen, it's okay. This is just the first phase where there's going to be multiple phases. And then there's the kind of that immediate 24, 48 hour controversy of, well, we would have released more, but it turns out that there was so much more information that, theoretically the SUNY hadn't turned over the files, and apparently, and of course, apparently no one's responsible, right? Like between Pam Bondi and Kash Patel, these new appointees working for the Trump administration, they're not in charge, apparently. Apparently random field agents down at the precinct, they're the ones apparently in charge because they can determine what files go where. And so then there's, and then, but of course we recall, I know that you would recall this, there's Pam Bondi once again, there she is sitting all nice and pretty. Don't look at her up close, by the way, you can see those age lines. Sitting there on Fox News saying, look, all the files are on my desk. We're going to go through them. We're going to have to redact things. Of course, for national security and grand jury information, yada, yada, yada. And you can explain a little bit more about that in a moment if you want to. But, we're going to redact things for national security. And immediately, this is exactly one of my favorite lines that Ron Paul used to say all the time is reporters used to try to play I gotcha with Ron Paul by saying, well, why is it that you give a platform to all these different conspiracy theories and look at your insane supporters and the stuff they believe? And his answer was really simple. Without endorsing any particular one kooky conspiracy theory, he would just say, well, the government invites conspiracy by the way it operates. It gets caught lying all the time. It constantly hides information from the public. And so what do you expect people to do other than to let their imaginations run wild? And so sure enough, you now have thousands upon thousands of people saying, well, wait a minute. What is it about a sex trafficking ring of pedophiles and international rapists that needs to be redacted for national security? Who could those people possibly be? And of course, Israel. I mean, everyone at this point, I believe, is everyone who saw Ian Carroll on Joe Rogan, and long before that, has always believed that, well, Epstein has connections to Mossad. Ghislaine Maxwell has connections to Mossad. A lot of people believe that this was an operation that was conducted by Israel to ensnare politicians around the world, but particularly in the United States. And then of course, files go missing, and then apparently files turn back up, but then it's, we have to redact things of national security. How could one imagine the reaction to be any other reaction other than, well, they're just going to scrub all the mentions of Israel before they release it? I mean, that's what I assume, and I think that's what a lot of people have assumed.
So you said something there, which was Dr. Paul, I think, talking about the government inviting conspiracy, and women just call that gaslighting. I mean, that's exactly what it is. You just flood the market with the lies and everything, and then when you question, you're like, wait, what? Oh my God! How dare you say you bring impunity on me? It's interesting too. Kash Patel had you talked about 5 different files in JFK stuff supposed to be released, and Kash Patel went on Glenn Beck. I don't know why I got a lot of Glenn Beck stuff here, and he's like, I've read it all. The connections. There's other things. I've read it all, and I'm just like, okay, I don't know if I'm believing in these people anymore, or if they've done it so much because they like Kash, almost like Trump called this bluff, which is, I'm going to get in there, I'm going to destroy the deep state. I've seen all these things, and maybe he has. I know he had clearance, but then he gets elected or nominated to this the head of the FBI, and then he gets confirmed, and he's like, oh shit, now I'm really here. I've got to maybe do something about this. Back to Pam Bondi on her I got 250 documents on my desk. I'm like, okay. Then she's like, later on, we got over 1,000 pages and a truckload. And I'm like, I mean, you ever seen a ream of papers? It's like, it says 500 pages and it's, a few inches thick. Yeah. You don't need a fucking truck.
Tyler, I used to run a printing business. Like, you can fit 5,000 sheets in one box.
It's not a truckload. So and I gotta say grift, because it's this Con Inc. stuff that is, it's out there. It's the Jeremy Boring's, it's the Daily Wire model, which is you scare, and then you sell them chocolate or a razor, and then you go on your way, right? It's pathetic. So I don't know about how much Pam Bondi actually has. Now let's say this too. Let's think about the reality here of were these documents actually being hidden by Southern District of New York? Perhaps. I mean, it wouldn't shock me at all. But also the bureaucracy. Let's just think about this. She's like, I want all the documents, and somehow it goes to all the right people, that somehow all the documents. I mean, maybe it takes some time, I mean, you ever just try to get shit done with the government yourself? I don't know. I know she's the head, but it doesn't mean that she got the call out to everybody. Now they said, the one guy was fired for, running that office. I think he was fired for putting out emails saying, hold the line, fight against this stuff. And maybe that's all related. It could very well be true. But when she says ridiculous stuff, and then I'm supposed to believe, and no one's getting prosecuted or fired other than this one guy, call me skeptical. I'm skeptical on all this stuff now.
Well, I think that's a big thing. You mentioned Kash Patel in there, is that, I've seen I saw that interview that he did where he's sitting there on the couch, with his arms over the top, and he's saying, on day one, I'm going to turn it into a museum of the deep state. Not only did that not happen, but we're way beyond shutting down the entire J. Edgar Hoover building. I mean, I remember during the nomination hearings where it's like, he's having these tough back and forth with these different senators, and these senators are just scared because they know as soon as Patel gets in, he's going to open up all these investigations. What investigations? Who's been indicted? Where are the prosecutions?
As a matter of fact, he's putting out tweets, now saying, I stand with these guys, and it's the FBI. And I'm just like, it's exactly what you expect, which is the when we're not in power, everybody that works for the FBI is the deep state, and could be right. I mean, that's really what I say. And then when when their guys get in power, the right wing, Trump, suddenly these are, paragons of virtue, and, every single one of them is out there, pulling kittens out of trees and whatnot. It's ridiculous. I wish that these people would be serious about this, and I wish their followers, because that's really what they are. You see this with the Massie stuff now, comes out against him and the people that are just trying to light him on fire, simply because their man told them that they have to. And there's like, your principles just, I don't know. I've been enraged the last few days about a lot of stuff, not healthily, but just continues to go on.
We've got some blood pressure issues going on. We're going to get to the Massie Trump stuff but before we wrap up. But I do want to mention really quick before we move on, because you had brought it really briefly, the JFK files thing. I feel like this is another thing that I think the kooky conspiracy theorists are concerned about, which is when you have this news cycle where it's just, massive international incident after another. That's the way you forget the one that just happened. That was a big nothing burger. And so first of all, the Epstein files, I mean, it's like, again, I could go search Twitter right now. You can't even find it. It's gone. We've just already given up. I think to a certain extent, it's not people being less upset about it. I think it's people just realizing it's business as usual. We're never going to get it, and they've just moved on to the next thing. And how can you blame them? I mean, to a certain extent, it's like, well, most people are just trying to work and feed their families. They don't have time to be mad about it. It's time to be mad about the next thing. But the JFK files, that was one in particular that I wanted to mention. And we'll bring Kash Patel back into this too. So the story was that 45 days, Trump signed the order. We're gonna declassify the JFK files. It's going to be a 45-day transition. 45 days after he's you remember that like giant marathon of executive orders that he was signing into the night. 45 days later, boom, the JFK files are unclassified. That means they can be released. We're putting a team together. They got that one stripper from Florida, Anna, Paulina, Luna, whatever. She's leading the committee to do some interviews and release files, which, by the way, slightly cute for a lizard person though she may be, people were immediately tearing her to shreds, saying, what do we need a fucking committee for? Just take the PDF, drop it, click send. That's it. That's all you got to do. We don't need any committees. We don't need any interviews. Well, I'll tell you what, for that 45 days, we are now sitting on day 47, and I haven't seen any breaking news come across my Twitter feed about the JFK files being released. And even above, not only have I not seen any files, but I'll bring up new director Patel on this one too. He did an interview recently where it's because I've seen the interview. He was saying, "Oh yeah, I've read the files, I've seen them, blah 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 blah." He's sort of edited his own talking points where it's gone from, "Yeah, I've seen the files, I've seen the connections, yada yada yada," to, "Yeah, I've seen the files, but listen, guys, pretty much what you know, that's all there really is to know." He did an interview recently, it might have been on ABC, where he was saying pretty much the information that's out there is 98% all the information there is. You know, there's a few different angles that people don't really talk about, and it's those things that you might be enlightened on. But for the most part, basically he's saying the official narrative is the narrative. If that was true, then of course, why was there so much buildup? And also, if that was true, why didn't they just drop the files online and call it a day?
Well said. I don't even know. I'm going to still comment. Let me go back, though, to Epstein, and you talked about redacted files for national security.
Okay.
The only way that even makes sense is that Epstein was a U.S. Some sort of government official, right? Otherwise, you're just like, okay, who cares? You know, Trump made this comment too when talking about JFK on Rogan, which is like, oh, you know, there's people out there, you know, that we might still need to be worried about as far as like, you know, accusing them or you know, the evidence would show bad. And I'm like, but the president was killed, and if they had something to do with it, then who fucking cares, right? We take this, and pardon my language, I apologize to all the family members out there tonight. But, you know, who cares, right? It just, you don't see this with any, I mean, are we talking about Blake Lively, you know, Diddy, not civil and criminal, but, you know, Karen Reed, is there national security? There's not national security stuff in a private person, except for that there is, because we, you know, how that kind of works. Also, I am only frustrated and mock this because the government is so pathetic, and then we are showing that, you know, new people were getting into office that we hope they're going to do some different things. Doge is tearing down completely, you know, USAID and just pulling the curtain back. But we're not going to get anything. I mean, Cash is somewhat right because, one, they're never going to release all the documents. If there was a, you know, one file that says CIA did it, you know, that's not going to be that. What they could be, and so just, you know, let's just dispel that we're going to get anything useful. I'm just out there saying that with Epstein and JFK. However, I think that when because I've heard those comments that he's made about like, oh, there's other stuff that's really bad, but it has nothing to really do with JFK. I don't believe that. I think there's something in there. Maybe it's like this death squad that was going to go down and kill Castro, and then that there's going to be a tangential reason. There's a reason why it's in that file. Right. So it may not, you may not think, Cash may not think that it's directly related, but I mean, we can have some amazing conspiracy theories going down those rabbit holes. And at least I want that. So release it out there. Let's have fun.
Yeah, exactly. Let's have fun. My feeling has always been, as it pertains to the national security thing, is that, and again, this is exactly where conspiracies come from, right? Because I'm kind of just letting my imagine run of, well, I'm just supposing maybe this is an explanation, and then one thing leads to another, and that's just my truth. Is that there in the files you have verifiable information that X, Y, and Z leading U.S. officials or politicians were caught doing very bad things, and that was being used for blackmail purposes. And they don't want that information out for the reason of, well, we don't want to show our geopolitical enemies that, you know, our politicians are so easily bribed or blackmailed or manipulated. I could at least accept that, except for in the process of doing that, what you're really doing is you're just protecting fucking rapists and pedophiles. Like, let's call it what it is. You may be trying to prevent the country from getting a black eye on the global stage, but another way of looking at it is you're just protecting rapists and pedophiles.
I say we need the masses. We need to be fed, right? So we're not getting the Epstein files. How about we release all the disclosures and the secret settlements of congressional aides, staffers, congressmen, senators that they don't let I don't know if everyone knows about this, but senators are like diddling people, and then there's a lawsuit against them. It gets settled, and no one gets to know anything about it. Someone's leaked some of the info out there over the years, so we know that there's that, and evidently there's a large amount of money that's been settled. So let's give us that then, okay? I just want some red meat. How about that one?
Isn't it great that that is a story, and this is not a conspiracy theory, this is just objectively reported truth, that they have a fund set up for in the same way that your local city has insurance on file in case someone falls off the sidewalk and sues the city. The federal government has a fund set aside so they can pay all the claims of the rapists. For the politicians that get sued and charged with all sorts of improprieties, but again, that's one of those things where the public at large, like, they see that and they're like, well, yeah, I could totally see that because these are monsters. But it just, in a certain sense, though, it just rolls off of you, doesn't it? Like, you just move on to the next headline because you're like, well, yeah, they're all monsters. Okay, I knew that, which makes it extra funny than when they line up with their torches and pitchforks to go after someone like Thomas Massie. It's like you're willing to trust the words of people that literally 5 minutes ago you just saw that they're protecting the rapists and pedophiles, and you're like, oh yeah, they're all monsters. And today it's like, well, yeah, but let's get this one. Let's get this guy from Kentucky. He's a son of a bitch. He won't vote for more debt. But before we get to that, there's one more thing I wanted to get your comments on. So Mahmoud Khalil, this fella right here, who, Jesus, his 15 minutes in the news cycle is almost already up because Trump v. Massie has almost killed this story. So this fella right here, my God. MAGA, I swear, I said this online. MAGA spent half of their day trying to primary Thomas Massie and the other half of their day trying to destroy the First Amendment. So we already knew going into this administration that in the same way that I have no problems with acknowledging that I would have rather had Trump than Kamala Harris. It's okay to rather have the flu than colon cancer. There's nothing wrong with having preferences. But we knew going in that a couple of the big red flags were Make America Great Again is just going to turn into Make Israel Great Again. And also we could have ballooning spending and debt because we already had ballooning spending and debt in Trump 1.0. And both of those red flags are turning out very quickly to be true. But in this particular case with this guy, so this is a student in the Northeast who is an anti-Israel, pro-Palestine protester. He's not an illegal immigrant, just for people who, I don't know where you get your news from. He's a legal resident. He's married to a U.S. citizen, and he actually has a kid on the way. So it's not exactly like, he's the new president of Syria or anything. This guy's not exactly a terrorist. And yet they're arresting him. He's being remanded to ICE. They want to deport this guy. Essentially at the behest of a foreign nation. Israel wants to silence these Palestinian protesters, and the Trump administration is more than happy to oblige. This even Ann Coulter, of all people, has gone on record as saying, and roughly paraphrasing her words, look, there's almost no one that I don't want to deport, but this seems like a pretty clear violation of the First Amendment. Where am I wrong? You will see so many people online, I know you see them, who will say, well, things like the First Amendment don't apply to non-U.S. citizens, so he's getting deported. Is that true? He doesn't have any rights because he's not a U.S. citizen, Tyler?
Then send him to Guantanamo. I mean, that's literally the reason to go into Guantanamo. They're not on U.S. soil. And the reason they're not on U.S. soil is because Cuba never signed the treaty agreement, whatever. So we have a base there. And so that's why we sent enemy combatants to there, to specifically not give them due process and deal with all that stuff. Okay, now this whole thing frustrates me too, because I'm put in a camp of, probably talked about this before, and I say it all the time, which is being used by different parties. Now you have a group that you may have an agreement with on principle, which is free speech, and the IHRA, the International Holocaust Remembrance Association or something like that. I don't know what the last word actually is. They've come up with their working definition of what anti-Semitism is, and it's been used for, the Congress has adopted it. 39 different states, I think, have adopted this. It doesn't work. It's against the First Amendment. So they've adopted that. And so what is college here? What is the actual anti-Semitism that he's doing? I don't know, because I need to look into it a little bit further. But yes, the First Amendment does apply. And by the way, the First Amendment argument, there's two other aspects to it, which is First Amendment to a private school, which I believe Columbia University is. However, they're receiving federal funds, and the federal funds, Trump is threatening to stop federal funds going there. So you still have rights, and then you have this government influence. And so Title IX probably, or Title VII, one of those still probably interacts. So you do have free speech rights, at least on campus. And plus, he's getting deported. So, and then the last thing we can talk about here really is the Bill of Rights applicability to the federal government, the 14th Amendment incorporation never should have happened. Anyway, we don't have to go down that road. I could go down that as long as you want. But I do need to look further into this guy, because if you want to talk about deporting him, you can say perhaps he's making threats to the U.S. Now, he has a green card, which is a legal resident. He's not just a visitor here, it's some immigration thing. So I believe what's going to happen with this is this might be where, like Dobbs with the abortion, which is abortion, Roe v. Wade. We understand that, right? Limiting abortion in certain trimesters, whatnot. So, or at least, making it legal. So then with it's questionable, jurisprudence as far as SCOTUS, making that, everyone said it's bad law. But everyone just assumes, especially the abortion people, just assume it's good. So they push this theory over and over to the nth degree, where Dobbs then gets put in front of the Supreme Court because of a pro-abortion not getting everything they wanted. And then the Supreme Court's like, oh, you know what? That was wrongly decided. And I think what you might have the same thing here, which is they're going to be pushing this thing. The Supreme Court's going to say he has rights. Oh, and by the way, that IHRA anti-Semitism, that's completely inappropriate. You can't, oversteps all the bounds of the First Amendment. So I'm hoping that actually happens. Maybe we get this up to the Supreme Court and we get part of this anti-Semitism stuff thrown out for good. It won't be for good, but at least maybe temporarily.
Well, on that note, before we run out of time, let's hit the main event, which is, of course, Trump v.
What's your thought
Massie.
on this Khalil guy?
Yeah, I know. Poor Khalil.
What's your thought on this guy?
Oh, what's my thought on him? Well, of course, I've never hit on this show that I think the best thing that could happen in the world is a dirty bomb gets snuck into Tel Aviv. So I don't think you really want. I don't think you want to go down that.
Are you saying Khalil's a dirty bomb?
No, he's not. I think if anything, he's not going far enough. Actually, I'll give you a slightly more nuanced take, which is, I think hate speech laws are ridiculous. That just adds, issues to the criminal justice system. But this was a popular right-wing position. A popular right-wing position for a long time was hate speech laws aren't really a thing. That's ridiculous and they shouldn't exist. But then, of course, as it pertains to anti-Semitism, all of a sudden, we want to literally send the jackboots onto college campuses. I think it's so interesting that just in the last, say, 24, 48 hours, you have you have MAGA, you have the right wing, you have conservatives, whatever label. And I'm not necessarily saying that those are all interchangeable, but you have the general right wing who are, these are supposed to be the fiscally responsible people. And now they want to primary the one guy who doesn't want to vote for more debt. These are also the America First people, and they're sending the jackboots onto college campuses at the behest of a foreign nation. And these were also the people who thought that safe spaces were fake and gay, and yet they're trying to silence rallies at schools. And so I guess the only reason I don't harp on those things more than I do is just the general theme of all of that is, oh, Republicans are hypocrites. It's like, yeah, no fucking shit. Now, see, now you got me cussing. God damn it.
Well, there you go.
But the thing is that there's never been anything to suggest to me that the right wing in this country, conservatism at large, are anything other than mindless hypocrites. They certainly think that they're a lot more morally and ethically sound than the left wing. I don't particularly see it. And so, while I don't necessarily have to agree with this Khalil guy and everything that he says or does, just to recognize that I think Daryl Cooper, Martyr made, he had made the point that, because again, you're allowed to have a nuanced position. You don't have to be completely black and white on any issue. On the one hand, he said, if I were visiting another country, or even if I immigrated to another country and I was a citizen of that country, I probably would stay out of their politics. I would probably not be like going to rallies and being particularly vocal against the regime in which I now currently reside, because I just think that that's probably bad policy, because I'm the outsider. I'm the one coming in here. I'm not the one who has, decades of roots and has a lot of skin in the game, so to speak. However, with that said, I think we all know that if this guy were going down to Colombia to hold a rally for George Floyd, or, whatever, make things in America, or let's protect the environment, or left or right wing cause, any of those things would have not gotten him in trouble at all. Only saying things against Israel. That's the one thing that he could do that is going to literally get him arrested and detained by ICE and deported. If he had been on that campus rallying for almost any other social or political issue, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Is that right or wrong?
And it's absolutely right. And I do question a little. So you remember the gay, that's the last, actually, her last name.
You remember the gays? Yeah.
She was in charge of Harvard or whatever, and they really went after her because, when the anti-Semitism stuff started. And Chris Rufio found out that she had plagiarized, so therefore she should be and I'm like, she's a piece of shit. I get it. But you're only doing that because she's Jewish, or she's not Jewish, because she's allowing full voices to be heard. Now, I think the right found their niche here, right? Which is you talked about all these other causes. They are, if you're a right winger on college campuses, you're likely shouted down, you're called all kinds of names, and nothing ever happens. However, somehow they got this issue to be okay for the right. So some of them are typically like, we'd do anything for Israel. There's no other thing we want to do in our lives. That's number one, like Brian Mast and some of these others in Congress, and Rufio and some of these others. But then there's some of the right that just wants to punish their oppressors, in a sense. And they finally found their ability and their way to do this on college campuses. And then Trump comes in and he's for it. So just take this out, because they don't really care. I think there's some of that. I don't want to say it's all just nefarious. And then some of them think that the Babylon Bee types, that it's just the most righteous thing that they can do is to give up their God for some. It blows me away. I don't want to get into too much of that. So anyway, that you're completely right. That's what I'm really meant to say. Yeah.
Well, thank you for stopping me from the main event so that you could tell everyone that I'm right. I appreciate that. But I want to read really quick Trump's little post on Truth Social, which, by the way, I think it's hilarious that ever since like the election season and Elon Musk buying X, that Trump is back on Twitter, but he refuses to give up the Truth Social nonsense. And so in his post that everyone's talking about, the anti-Massie post, it's blah, 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 House Freedom Caucus, blah, 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 radical left, shut down the country, hate America, millions of criminals, blah, 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 blah. Get to the big part. Congressman Thomas Massie of beautiful Kentucky is an automatic no vote on just about everything. As Eric July has already pointed out, it's funny that they're accusing him of being an automatic no vote, and then like in the very next sentence, they accuse him of voting yes on things. Just point that out. Yeah. Despite the fact that he's always voted for continuing resolutions in the past. So that's just objectively false. As Massie in his own words put, he did vote for one CR that had some concessions in it, and that didn't become law, because why would that one get passed? So no, anything that he's voted for actually didn't get passed. He did vote for the debt ceiling raise in, what was it, 2023. That is true, although that was also tied to caps on spending, and that was his reason for voting for it. But again, this is just to point out that he literally in one sentence makes a claim that's incorrect and then refutes himself in the very next sentence. He should be primaried in all caps, and I will lead the charge against him. Good luck, by the way. People have tried that before. He's just another grandstander. That was his own criticism of Massie years ago, who's too much trouble and not worth the fight. He reminds me of Liz Cheney before her historic record-breaking fall. I'm sorry, if Thomas Massie reminds you of Liz Cheney, you have lost the plot. Big time.
Absolutely.
The people of Kentucky won't stand for it. Just watch. Do I have any takers? Anyway, thanks to the House Freedom Caucus, blah, 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 blah. All right, so Trump wants to pardon Thomas Massie. I'm sure you have a lot to say on it. I'm gonna give the floor over to you to talk about it, but I just want to lead off with this. One observation that I think is amazing is that Trump wants to primary Thomas Massie because Thomas Massie won't vote for this continuing resolution. Now, I'm not gonna steal your thunder and sit here and talk about how that's just adding to the debt. That's continuing the Biden's budget. That's funding things that Doge is trying to stop. I'm not going to mention any of that. What I'm going to mention is that he wants to primary Thomas Massie for having this vote. He didn't want to primary Lindsey Graham or Murkowski or all these Mitch McConnell, all these automatic no's in the Republican Senate and against his own appointments. He didn't want to primary all the Never Trumpers in the House. I don't specifically remember him. Sure, he fired some people that he could fire that were under the purview of the executive branch, but I don't remember him threatening to primary any of those objectively horrific swamp monsters. But Thomas Massie, who wants to vote no on more debt, that wins it for him. That's just throwing it out there.
So, man. So you're right. You corrected because Thomas Massie said yes, he had voted for one, and he said I think it was reduction of spending is the reason, and then it never became law. So. And by the way, I saw other people. DC Drano was saying that as well, and people were lauding. And I'm like, and matter of fact, one person in her bio said reduce government. And then she said, "I'll complain." And I just saw Dan Bongino talking about this, saying, "Oh, well, he doesn't have a plan, and we've basically got to pass this. And then once we pass it, then we can take this on, and really reduce coming up." So
you got to pass the bill to see what's in it.
Yeah, exactly. Or you got to destroy capitalism to save it, or something like that. So Massie had put this up. This is the 10th. He said the argument for CR in September 2024. Was to fight in December 2024 after the election. The argument for CR in December 2024 was to fight in March 2025 after the inauguration. The argument for CR in March 2025 is to fight in September 2025 because we're not ready yet. I mean, it's just, it's pathetic. And, what's most pathetic about this is I was telling my brother-in-law this a few weeks ago. He's a Trump guy too. And I'm like, it's frustrating because you always talk about you elect people and they're going to, we're going to fight in government and then nothing happens. When the Trump came in the first time, they had Congress, Senate, and did they roll back Obamacare like they had been promising to do for years? No, because they're pieces of shit. Right. And so I'm like, it never happens. And then Doge happens. And suddenly it is not only cool, it is like euphoric to like find all this spending and to cut it out in USAID. I mean, it's the biggest topic all over the place. And then you have a continuing resolution that can actually do something. The Supreme Court has stopped, some of this aid. It, stopped Trump from stopping it. And they're basically saying it's Congress's job to do this. Okay, well, here's Congress's chance. And then everyone wants to primary, and they want to, not allow this to basically do your job to stop this spending. But we're not going to do it. And it's so pathetic, and it's right on target. And it makes it, Trump, you had mentioned in the pre-show about Trump, 4D chess. And I'm like, maybe 3D hungry hippo, but I don't know. It's not, his brain doesn't work that way. I think this goes back to his COVID thing with Massie. And I know they made up. And by the way, I voted for Trump for one reason, which was to free Ross Ulbricht. And he had given Massie his guarantee he was going to do it. And Massie said, he even said, you can put it on your platform website. And he did. And he freed Ross. Ross is free. I feel vindicated and wonderful. I was able to, I feel like, save someone's life. But with that in mind, I think Trump's still vindictive over COVID and what he called Massie. And so his help of getting elected was fine, But now he doesn't give a shit anymore, and he's just going to be that vindictive person. He's not playing any kind of, hey, Massie. And I think his thing on Massie primary is Massie might go for the Senate, and now he might get primaried. I mean, that's a more difficult thing than his little congressional district. Now you're going to do the whole state, and so it might be more difficult. So that's my thought on the Massie stuff.
Well, let's wrap up with that then, because we did talk about that briefly before the show. That our friend Jason Rink had posted this, in which, by the way, I am not a 4D chess believer. I never have been. I think it's much more likely that Trump just fires from the hip, and he's an emotional fucking woman, and he does things based on his ego and hubris and not based on strategy. The idea that Trump is a brilliant political strategist, I think, is far less likely than Trump is just an egotistical piece of shit. With that said, I am at least willing to entertain this one particular idea that Jason has shared, which is Trump is smart enough to know that of all the congressmen in America, if you decided you were gonna base your entire administration on deleting one of them, like the hardest one would be Thomas freaking Massie. I mean, this guy is unimpeachable record. His district loves him. The last a couple election cycles, they tried to primary him. I think in 2020, 2020 was the year that the previous Trump administration went after him. In 2024, it was, of course, AIPAC went after him because he's the only congressman that doesn't have an AIPAC guy. He's the only congressman that has a big sign on his door that actually says America first, no foreign lobbyists, welcome here. And that's obviously anti-Semitic. So they get rid of him. I think they probably spent $1 million for every Jew who lives in his congressional district to try to primary him. What does he do? He wins by like 70% of the vote. So this is a guy who's not going to get primaried. And if Trump has half a brain, he knows that. But the message is not Massie is bad, we're going to get rid of him. The message is any other Republican who dares side with Massie over me, I'll get you. You probably don't win your elections by 70%. I'll come get you if you side with him over me. I'm willing to entertain that as a possibility.
Yeah, okay. Yes, I will entertain it. But you called him Cheney? I mean, that doesn't connect. So I'm not going to go down that route. And matter of fact, I think it was his own campaign guy, Chris something. He's like gung ho about this. So what you're going to have is you're going to have a bunch of just loser conservatives just pouring the gas on the fire for this. And I hope they torch themselves out. I hope Trump just did two things. I hope he put a light up for moths to come out and to show us who they are. One was with the Pam Bondi Epstein files. Now we can look and say, oh, look, there's a nice light. Look at all those moths around the fire that he just put up here. Those are trash. That's nothing. And same with this. Whoever's coming out. I mean, Bongino, he was saying, look, I don't agree. He wasn't trashing Massie, but he had stupid reasons for what he was saying, which, whatever. But there's a lot of them out there that are trashing Massie. And I'm hoping, and I want to keep records. I want to make a list, right? A nice list. We'll just keep it up here and say, these are the people who are trash. Remember when they did X, Y, and Z? There's not too many things you need to do that on, but this is a nice one to do. Massie's just a great guy. There's so much outpouring of support. That's all I saw on the timeline last night on Twitter was just Massie, pro Massie. And I hope it comes back and haunts Trump a little bit. And at some point he needs some people. And they're like, I don't know, maybe you're Cheney. Maybe you're Dick Cheney. So who knows?
Well, on that note, we're officially like a full 15 minutes over time. So, Tyler, where can people go to support you and check out more of your content?
Tyler Janke on Twitter, TYLERJANKE, and there's a link I don't know, whatever those link things are that give to all your shows. LPR, like you said, find us. I'm on YouTube, everywhere else. I broadcast on Fridays on Twitter, YouTube, Rumble. So, and you're usually in the chat. And I try to see your show as well. I'm also producing Tower Gang. I know it conflicts with, it's probably right now, folks, right now. So when you're done with this, just go over and check that out.
There you go. Well, on that note, we'll get you out of here on this one, because I know that you had mentioned the of course, Mitch McConnell's leaving, hopefully to hell. And there's it's been kind of floated. I think Massie himself probably wasn't aspiring to the Senate, but I've seen recently he himself kind of doing that emoji when people post, hey, you should run for Senate. He doesn't strike me as the kind of guy that's a shit stirrer, like in that sense, like just creating headlines for the heck of it. And so I think that he is considering running for Senate and taking. So we'll leave you on this one. What do you think the chances are that Massie runs for Senate? A, wins Senate, and then 3, any state even comes close to having a senatorial duo like Massie Paul?
Yeah, I wouldn't possibly move to. One, he's going to, and the reason why is, think about this. Kids are getting older. He's already in Congress, and his wife sadly passed away. So, I mean, what does he got to do? Let's just throw ourselves into, he's not dating. Let's throw ourselves into government. And I think you're going to see him doing that. He put up a poll, president, or someone did. I think he retweeted it or was part of it. President, governor, or senator. I think senator would be the great way for him to go at this point. So one, he's going to, let me see if I got your questions. Is he going to do it? Yes.
Is he going to win?
Is he going to win? Yes. And is there a better state than those two? No, not comparable.
Well, there you have it. I'm cautiously optimistic. I think he will run. I hope he will win. I think he will win. I've had this conversation with some other really deep in the weed political wonk people who have said, on the one hand, it's like, well, Rand Paul was able to win a Senate seat at a time when a Mitch McConnell was still there. How can a state have Mitch McConnell and Rand Paul? And the answer is Rand kind of came along at the right time. He struck when the iron was hot. And his last name still carried a lot of weight from 2008 and 2012 with his dad. And so it's like, well, maybe Rand would not have won just anywhere, just in a year, but he won then. And of course, as we all know, incumbents tend to not lose future elections. Is this the right time for Massie? I don't know. On the one hand, if you have Trump just screaming at the top of his lungs like a little girl, don't vote for this guy, maybe it's not the right time. On the other hand, I do agree with you, man. I'm scrolling through the timeline, and for every one slack-jawed fucking retard who's saying this guy votes no on everything, he's with the Dems, I actually saw someone say he's just like McConnell. Like, I'm sorry. If you think this guy's just like McConnell, you have no valid opinion on anything ever. But for every one of those comments, we just heard
he's like Cheney, so not McConnell.
Yeah. So for every one comment like that, I'm seeing 10 saying, including from people who are like, they have MAGA in their profile, saying like, I'm MAGA, but no, this isn't right. He's like the best guy. So I don't know. Maybe instead of this being the worst time, this is actually the best time for him.
It could be. And by the way, I don't know the politics of Kentucky, but when you do have a Mitch McConnell in there, probably someone who brings up a bunch of pork to that state. Maybe it is difficult for Massie to win there. I don't know. We'll have to just wait and see. That would be glorious, though. And maybe I wish that he would do something better with his life than be a senator. But it's Kentucky, so let's do it. Let's give it a shot. Why? Let's run this. They could be like the Malays of the U.S. without the crypto scam.
Well, as we always say around here, the reason why all the trees in Tennessee lean north is because Kentucky sucks. So it's not that I so much care about Kentucky. This was my answer to our friend Michael Bolden at the 10th Amendment Center. Being a states' rights, anti-federal supremacy organization, he said, well, he should run for governor and make Kentucky great again. And my answer was, I agree with you if I were a Kentuckian, but since I'm a Tennessean and that does me absolutely no good whatsoever, I need him to run for Senate. Yeah.
Great.
All right. Well, Tyler, thanks, man. It's always a lot of fun to talk to you, even though we're like 20 minutes over time. I guess we'll probably just go ahead and run the whole interview anyway.
I appreciate that. You can edit out some of the bad language, or you can re-edit it. Have you ever seen that Pinger guy? He does these Joe Rogan clips, and he has whoever is a guest, and he makes the conversation completely out of context. Maybe you should do that with us. That'd be great. I appreciate you having me on.
Well, we appreciate it too, guys. We're going to be back to wrap up the show right after this commercial break. Don't go away. If If you're enjoying tonight's show, consider supporting the program by becoming a member of our Patreon. That's over at patreon.com/Alan Mosley. Like our Facebook page. It's Facebook. No, actually, don't do that. Fuck Facebook. You kidding me? But you can follow me on Twitter X. It's at Alan Mosley TV. Facebook. You can subscribe to our YouTube page, youtube.com/Alan Mosley TV. But if you're more of a listener than a watcher, you can get us on your favorite podcast. Blah, 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 blah. It's Too Late with Alan Mosley or Alan Mosley TV. Oh my God!
Oh, we forgot.
Oh my God! You gotta get your tickets to the 7th. That's the thing. The thing's coming up. The 7th annual It's Too Late live show, Saturday, May 17th. We're doing the live show.
A live
show.
Big show.
And there's not going to be a recording. You got to be there.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be wild. Dave, do you have a final thought?
Great show. It went well. Surprisingly well. Yeah.
Why is it going to be so? See, now you're doing the fortune cooking bullshit. Why is it going to be surprisingly? Why can't it just be
pretty good at this business? Yeah. No.
It only took 7.5 years and 346 up. Jeez. All right. You want to know why the Trump cultists hate Massie so much?
Why is that?
It's because Massie, like all the Make America Great Again, America First stuff that they pretend to be, Massie actually is. And that's why they hate him. Trump, all those sycophants, they could never live up to his record, ever.
No. It ain't easy.
No, it isn't. Can you imagine having the guts to be that one vote and standing up and you're getting booed and shouted at and all that?
Yeah.
He seemed, I'll be honest though, he seems to revel in it. He seems to.
I think he does.
Yeah. It's like you can't. He did have a cute little sassy with Massie. I saw where he said, President Trump has spent his whole day yelling at Canada and me, and the difference between us is that Canada will eventually cave. Right. It's like, damn. After party?
Yeah, real quick. We can do that.
Okay. Yeah, real quick. Guys, thank you so much for watching another episode of It's Too Late, and we will see you next week.
Oh. Nice.
Right?
You did it.
Did it.
You get so excited. I was nervous today.
Yeah, well, yeah, anytime I tell you, like, hey, let's try doing a good show this week, and then you get all clammy.
Yeah, I'm like, ooh, that's a lot of pressure.
Small after party, that's right. Everybody needs to click on those links to support the show, by the way. If you want us to keep talking about the Jews, then...
Ladies and gentlemen, now it's way too late with Alan Mosley.
It's way too late. I'm getting called a slur. That's what's happening.
Even if it doesn't fit.
Oh, they're all good. They're all good. It's just, pick your pleasure. It's whatever. Yeah. Boy, that is real. They're something. Boy, it's been a long time since I've checked my email during the show and seen, oh, you got a donation, or oh, you've got a subscription, or oh, you've sold tickets. That's not good. That's not good.
This is a business.
How come it is that we have like 1,000 more people watching the show, but we somehow are making less money? Isn't that weird?
Yeah. It's weird.
It's weird. Goddamn Rothschilds running off our.
That's what it is.
Running off our subscribers, yeah.
Yeah, they're giving them bad links. And
how do they do that? It's wild.
I'm gonna try the split whenever you're done. See what happens.
Yeah, that's right, Ryan. There was a faggots. You can say faggots. It's fine. Hey, it's working.
Look at that. It worked.
Neat. Cool. All right. Maybe you should get in TikTok and sell tickets on TikTok Marketplace. First of all, I didn't know that was a thing. And second of all, our TikTok went from 0 to massive in like 2 months, and then they killed it. And I'm not doing it over again. I'm over that. I'm over going to new platforms and starting to get spicy and then getting a whole bunch of like followers real quick and then them killing our channel. I'm over it. I'm done doing that.
No fun.
No. Like do you remember, because it was around, do you remember when we were doing, oh, hi, JC. Do you remember when we were doing the unpopular opinions? Do you remember we did the Harry Potter one? Remember unpopular opinions, Harry Potter? It wasn't that clip. That's not what got us, but it was around that time that I had shared a clip, and then they were like, okay, your channel's dead now. And I was like, oh, okay.
That's rough.
Yeah. They really didn't like when I made fun of that one fat black singer, Lizzo. Oh, remember I called her the round mound of sound?
Yeah, that was pretty
like
clever.
That's by our standards, that's pretty tame. I could have called her something else, but I didn't.
Yeah.
And they were all over that. And then do you remember when I shared the clip of Vivek and Nikki Haley arguing in the primary, but it was the voiceover of the Indian people?
Yeah.
Oh, they didn't like that either. No.
What?
No, they didn't like that. And then after that they're like,
silly.
And then they're like, all right, you're out. Goodbye. And I was like, oh, okay. So TikTok's a bunch of faggots. Neat.
Apparently.
And I had some, like, I mean, I know these numbers are nothing compared to like serious content creators, but we had some TikToks that had like 30, 40,000 views and stuff. And I was like, oh, maybe TikTok's really cool and I'm late to the party. And then they deleted the channel. And I was like,
vanilla,
okay.
It's pretty cool.
I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm done with I'm past the point where I, make Alan Mosley TV 2 and Alan Mosley TV 3, and I'm over it. Those days are behind us.
Rebrand again.
No, if we lose our channels again, then that's it. We're done. I know, it was actually, well, that's the thing, is that when you make stuff that's genuinely fun and then a bunch of people actually watch it, like it wouldn't have had that many views if people weren't like, ooh, I want to check this out. Hey, Ma, come look at this guy making fun of Jews. And then TikTok's like, oh no, that's not what we want to share on our platform.
That's not good content.
I was like, well, I mean, more people were clicking on that than other stuff we were doing. So,
yeah.
What are you going to do? Apparently, some ads coming up on Twitch.
Uh-oh. They should be subscribed. It's easy.
Better be
it's
subscribed.
Free if you have a Prime subscription.
Yeah, remember when we
Cost you
used to do
nothing?
that? We used to do the thing, and then the guy laughed, and remember
Mhm.
those were
Oh, those are the days.
yeah, those were simpler times.
Be in the unemployment line.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody need a producer? Mostly gets it right. Mostly.
Man, I'm worn out.
Yeah. We were talking about that. That time change is stupid.
Yeah, it's really dumb. I'm tired every day that I wake up. And it's like, well, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to go to bed at 7? Like, what? Yeah, what am I supposed to do? Yeah, when we said Keck W, but Keck W should be, yeah, it's if you get your plugins installed, then Keck W pops up as that guy on Twitch.
Yeah.
Oh, you better learn to weld, Dave. That's what that's what Gary said.
I'm working on my coding. I'm gonna learn to code.
Wait, hold on. I can't read. So the boss who was on vacation heard that the other main guy quit, and she called me today and offered, and she's open to paying me more money. Hey, look at that.
Hey,
Everything's coming up Lyle.
As it should.
Yeah, I'm here for it.
Good dude.
Yeah. I'm also here for Trump derailing his entire administration. Like, I'm
just
fuck it. Just do it.
I mean, he's got to see the backlash. And then he made another post after I woke up and my entire feed was just Massie support.
Yeah. Boy. See, that's the thing, is that Trump's ego will not allow him to even look at that, much less react to it. When he makes fun of a Liz Cheney and everyone says, ha ha, dump on Liz Cheney, then, you know, he just basks in the glory of his opinions being codified into law. But when he shits on Thomas Massie and everyone's like, hey, why don't you shut the fuck up? Yeah. He doesn't know, he can't deal with it. He just has to block it out. I mean, it's interesting. You think about it. I mean, Thomas Massie at the end of the day is just a regular old congressman from District 4 in Kentucky. And he's got that much support against the president of the United States. There's a lot of people that like Thomas Massie, and rightfully so. He is the best.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's the only one.
Brooke, you don't have to be sad about that. You can actually go and watch or listen to it anytime you want at any of the link that you prefer. I don't delete my shows on Twitch like you guys do. This shit's just on there.
It's not that I delete them. I just don't know how to save them.
What do you mean you don't know how to save them? You have to actually click a button so that it doesn't keep your library.
I don't think I did.
I think you did because you were worried about the movie stuff.
Well, that's a different channel.
Well, yeah, but you used to do stuff on different channel, and you don't even save this stuff.
No.
I resent missing the live when I do. That is true. You don't get to interact with Ryan if you miss the live. So you might have to actually message Ryan and say, "Hey, I'm going to rewatch this. Can you just hop into chat and kind of like relive the experience?" Yeah. Yeah. And then Ryan tells you, "Yeah, this is the part where I asked him about nuts. Check this out." You know. This is the part where I told his expert guest he's stupid because of this. They're not actually on Facebook. Facebook kicked us off. They didn't like us talking about Israel on Facebook, so the episode is not on Facebook. It is on Rumble, YouTube, Twitch, and X.
And podcasts.
Yeah. But only Robert Parro does that. He's
just the one.
He only watches one show a year, and he comes here to do it. You think about that. He's a listener instead of a watcher, except for when he can actually pull up. Say, hey, is this where the show is?
You should send him up a chair there in the studio, and
he can just hang out and watch the show. Yeah.
Yeah.
He'd be our live audience reaction. Let's see what Robert thought about that one. Robert, was that a good one? Oh man. So how's everybody been? I feel like we're always so busy doing this, that, and the other that I don't often get a chance to just be like, hey, what's everybody doing? You know. Ooh, God, the upload's already at 98%. We're about to just leave anyway, so.
Yeah.
Make bullying great again.
Going to bed earlier.
Now see, you gotta be careful with stuff like that, because I am a big believer in shaming people. Shame was the way that societies corrected behavior that they didn't want in their communities.
Yeah, and that's the way it should be.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Just shame them, and if they go too far, ostracize them, kick them out of the community.
Yeah. I am a big believer that when there's people in your community that are doing things that everyone doesn't like, and you're like a big, well, that's not aggression, you can't hurt them. It's like, well, you can make their life living there a living hell. That's what you can do. You can make sure they know you're from your favorite movie. You see with this, it means not welcome. That's what that means.
My favorite movie.
Yeah, it's your favorite movie, yeah. Well, you knew a lot about certain scenes in that movie that it kind of made me uncomfortable. So I just assumed you had seen it a bunch.
I don't remember much, but it's weird that, yeah. I mean, in general. But yeah, that movie stuck with me. It was a good movie.
Yeah, sure, yeah. And then that guy gets busted by the DEA and goes to prison for 7 years after that.
Mm-hmm.
Same.
That Ukrainian set him up.
Yeah.
Oh wait, spoiler.
Yeah, they totally killed the rat. Whoops. Not welcome. That's right, Aaron. That's what this means. Dave's got his Halloween costume for this year.
Oh yeah. Everybody will get it.
Yeah.
But you don't know what this costume is?
I'm the guy. I'm the guy from the movie.
The guy from that movie, yeah. Remember? Not welcome.
Oh God. Could you imagine? And I'm going to be honest with you. We didn't really talk about this during the show. I don't even know if you could. Yeah, you can still see it. We didn't really talk about this during the show, but the numbers are now down into the 100s, and it's getting more real.
Ooh,
you see that? It's down to 198. So, just
time's flying, man.
Yeah. It is what it is. What does that mean? It'll be, 2.5 weeks? In 2.5 weeks, we'll be over the hump. We'll be halfway to that. Yeah.
That's exciting, isn't it?
It is. I've just kind of relegated it to the background for the last few months, but now it's like, that's actually coming up. Better enjoy this summer and the live event and all that stuff. I think the episode's already published. Days left is below the Mendoza line. #sad. Man, this episode was we were pretty heated there. Tyler and I both have pretty strong feelings about this whole Massie Trump thing.
Yeah.
So it was good timing. Well, for people who hung around to watch the after party, I feel like we didn't really deliver much.
Yeah, that was. I'm tired, and I nothing new to really talk about.
Kind of into it, and then just hit the wall.
They used up all your energy during the monologue.
I
now
did.
You're just tired and mad.
Yeah.
See, I blame it on the chat though. They have to bring something to the table too.
That is true. Here we are trying to react to chat, but it's just Brooke's mad because she was late. Everybody's just mad.
It's mad and tired.
Here's to another 2 months of hell, says Lyle. Wow, thanks, Lyle. That's not sure how to. Hopefully a better paid hell. Well, that's the important thing. If they're gonna put you if they're gonna put you through it, at least you're gonna you just tell yourself that when you come out the other side, you're gonna make more money.
And where's this no tax on overtime? That's what I'm waiting for.
They're too busy rearming Ukraine and primarying Massie. Sorry, Dave, you gotta pay taxes.
Fuck.
You gotta pay the Jews to get rid of Massie.
I thought they're supposed to pay us.
When do those people ever pay anyone?
Well, I mean the APAC or whatever that is. We need one of those guys.
We ain't getting an APAC guy. Yeah. If you guys out there think that there are content creators that are like bought and paid for by Israel, I hope you guys know that this show right here, it ain't one of them. Or they've really wasted their money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Loch Ness Monster Tree Fitty says, imagine worrying about paying taxes instead of just working under the table, LOL. So that's Gary Dykstra, which you can meet at the It's Too Late, the seventh annual It's Too Late live show. We do Saturday, May 17th in beautiful Columbia, Tennessee.
I have that.
Yeah, feel free to thank Jesus.
Yeah.
You've just checked out, haven't you? You're done.
Oh yeah, I'm off the clock now. This is just social time.
Yeah, that's fine. No, this is one of those required after hours job events.
Oh.
Yeah, like we're not on the clock, but you have to come, you know.
Yeah.
When Alan mutes me, he's got an APAC guy. That's what it is. Yeah, they pay me to subdue Ryan's commentary.
Silence.
Yeah.
It's causing too much trouble.
This is a 100% shekel-free production in lots of ways, frankly. Both in terms of them and everyone else. Man, look at that viewer count.
That's weird. Oh, it went up for this.
Well, it's because it's the longer it's on X, the more people like, oh, there's a live going on, and then they click on it, and they're like, the fuck is this?
What the hell is this? Yeah, you missed the show.
Yeah, there was a whole program, and
the whole thing.
Yeah, it's a bunch of angry white
good.
dudes just bitching. Yeah. So who's gonna draft Genty? The Cowboys. Fuck it. Let's just do it. He'll be the next Emmitt Smith, except for we don't have the next everybody else, and so it's just Emmett.
Well, that reminds me, I should be an NFL quarterback and make $1 million a week.
Yeah.
I should have did that.
Yeah. You know, the thing is, though, is that you've got a team that just paid a quarterback a bunch of money, but the team's not quite good enough to win it all, and now they're going to be slightly less good.
Yeah.
So if they weren't good enough now, then
maybe they'll get lucky with somebody. Some like 15 round.
Oh, I was good. Okay, 15. Yeah. Thought you were.
Round.
Well, you said maybe get lucky with somebody, then you said 15, and I got really scared. Yeah. It's like, I was with you until
15.
Like, I mean, that's young even for Alabama. That's down there. I feel like every episode ends with me asking you if you have a final thought, but it's not real. You're not actually giving me your final thought because you're trying to think of something relevant to the episode.
Yeah.
So I don't if I ask you right now before I hit the static button, do you have a final thought? I'm actually asking, what genuinely is your parting thought for this evening? It could be anything.
I'm trying to think of what I'm looking forward to, and I'm at a blank. It's just because usually I'm like, oh, the weekend's coming or something.
Mm-hmm.
I just got to get to this, and I don't have that thing. So I guess. Oh yeah, just got to make it to the live event.
Yeah.
Well, there's something.
Change the meme to that. I just got to make it to the live event. Oh man. Well, you heard it here first, folks. Dave is trying really hard to think of a reason to go on, and he's just drawing a blank. So, I imagine next week's Mary Lynn Willimowski wrote, "Dear Alan and Dave," is going to be a banger.
Yeah, it should be something wild.
I was sad we didn't get one this week. I know she's busy, but she actually messaged me earlier today about it, and then that was it. I
think she took a nap.
Oh, yeah.
She does that thing where she'll send me a message and then just whip her phone out the window for the rest of the day.
Mm-hmm.
There's no communication. It's our little inside joke now.
Okay. Yeah. No, she said something about oh, hey, the viewer mail question, or whatever. Although to be fair, she did say she was going to try to do a viewer mail question if she doesn't end the Fed.
Oh.
And then we didn't get a viewer mail question. So might want
to go check on her.
Yeah, I might want to run upstairs and see what's going on. That. Although I did tell her that if you were going to go in the Fed, I'll take me with you because I'm kind of over it. I'm done.
Uplifting ending.
Yeah. I know. That's what I was going to tell her in the viewer mail question is that Dave's going to be all mad because it ends up being me and Mary do the suicide pact. Look, man. You had your chance. You were signed up and then you backed out. So
then I just raise kids. Sheesh.
I mean, how much more raising do you really have to do at this point? They know.
Yeah.
They know.
Yeah. They stick together, little ragtag group. They'll be all right.
Is that going to happen, though?
No. No, they're going to turn on each other like Lord of the Flies.
Oh, wow.
Get hit with a rock. Yeah.
You think... Do you think about that? I don't know why we're getting really deep in the weeds all of a sudden right before I hit the go to hell button. Yeah. But do you think that your kids are going to be the kind of adults that they stay close and everyone lives near each other and their families are close and there's lots of functions, or do you think that they're all going to kind of go their separate ways?
Influence takes hold. Mary's got a tight knit family, talk every day and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Me and my family will go months. I work with my brother. I can see him in the other building, and Mary will be like, "Did you see your brother today?" And I'm like, "Yeah. How's he doing?" I don't know.
I can see that.
I didn't talk to him, but I learned that we're more the people that we don't ask how other people are doing to them. We ask how other people are doing to other people. Like, hey, how's my brother doing? Like, I'll ask my dad. You know, I'm not gonna ask my brother. That'd be weird. Like, how are you doing? You writing a love story?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's me. How I'm doing.
Yeah, that's yeah, I could see it. I mean, like, so similar. I think similar to you. My mom's side of the family is lots of them talk regularly and grew up around each other. Kids grew up around each other. My dad's side of the family was the opposite. Was everyone went like everyone chose everyone went 500 miles in a different cardinal direction, and it's just good luck to you, Yeah. And they all got back together when grandmother died, and then they turned right back around and went, and that was it.
That's our family reunions.
Yeah. Like me and my brother are not family. He's not even my brother anymore. We don't talk.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, we're actually violently opposed. It's not just like an inconvenience. Wow. We're not. I don't even like. Yeah. He's not my brother. Fuck him. We fought a lot growing up. And then when we became adults, we quit fighting because that's not something adults do. That's what kids do. But it didn't mean that we just reconciled. It was just, all right, good luck. Yeah. So I haven't seen her talk to my brother in years, and I won't. I don't need him. We're totally different, completely opposites. If you saw us together, you wouldn't even think we were related. We don't even look the same.
Wow.
We're totally different people. Like he has like sandy blonde hair, hazel eyes. I have the dark hair and because my hair got darker and my eyes got darker as I got older because it's just the thing that happened. So yeah, I mean we don't talk, we don't hang out, and
like Mary brought hugging to our family. Like we never did that. There's no touching.
Yeah,
no touching. Now it's like I feel like I have to say, like, after I'm done talking to my mom on the phone, I'm like, okay, I love you. It just feels weird.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we don't.
I have to tell you.
Yeah, we don't do that here. That's not. It's not a thing we do. I mean, I was always a believer that actions speak louder than words, which I don't think is a controversial position.
No.
And so, we weren't big on gestures. It was more like like our dad made sure we didn't die, and that's how we knew he loved us.
Yeah. Yeah, there's food. Food.
Yeah. I mean, I remember me and my dad having a conversation when I was a young adult, because they did a lot of stuff for my brother. My brother was more of the problem child. And I was like, well, you guys never did X, Y, and Z for me. And they were like, well, because I was like, well, y'all never talked about being proud of me for the things I accomplished or stuff that I did or whatever. And Alex didn't do any of those things. And they were like, well, I mean, like we paid stuff for you. Like, and I was like, so if I didn't have those life accomplishments, I would be naked and afraid. Like, is that what you're saying?
We're giving up on this one.
Yeah. So no, I mean, and that was a big part of it too, is like they went through the whole rigmarole with my brother, and then I'm better than my brother in every way, but they put a lot more resources into my brother.
Yeah.
And then didn't put anything into me, because it's like, oh, he can take care of himself. And it's like, well, I feel like it should be the opposite. It should be like he should be punished.
Yeah.
For being shitty, and I should get things.
Yeah, that's bad business. You put all your focus on your top performers.
Yeah.
You don't waste your time on the. Yeah.
No, they put extra training into him.
That's throwing bad money at bad money.
You know what's funny is, because where I'm from, and it's not like a super small southern town, but it's not like a city like Nashville or something. And something I always thought was really weird is that in most like small towns in the South or whatever, like if you have family, like older family, like aunts, uncles, moms, and dads who like are from here and went to school here, and then you have like cousins older who like are from here and went to school here, or like older brother who's like from here and went to school here, then you would expect that when it's your turn to go, people are like, oh, it's another Mosley, oh, you're Cindy's boy, aren't you? Stuff like that. That never once happened to me. Never a single time. Not with any relative in my entire family or extended family. And you know why? Because all of them were just wallflowers who never went anywhere, never did anything, never accomplished anything, didn't play any sports, didn't play any instruments, didn't perform anything, never made an impact. Exactly. They were the kids that were just in the rows of pictures in the yearbook. They weren't in any of the other sections. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I'm not like trying to be that yuppie, like popular kid, but I didn't have to try to be. I just was, because it's like, well, I just, like, God forbid you have a personality and not like, not like stink or be poorly kept or, whatever. And so for me, it was more like, oh, you're the first generation. It's like, no, I'm fucking not. Like everybody I'm related to is from here, and nobody knew any of my friends or family. And they're like, well, I don't know. And then I was the first one to go to college too, even though my brother's 4.5 years older than me. I was the first one to go to college, and yeah, they're gonna put in the class reunion, Alan has a successful late night show. And then there are people who are going to be like, what's this? And then they're going to Google me. And then they're going to say, ooh, he fell way off. he got crazy. Yeah. Your family is full of the people who I see in my yearbook and ask, who the fuck is that? Yes. All of my family and stuff were that, except for me. I was the only one. I was like voted a superlative and all that bullshit. It's like I'm not bragging. I'm just saying you would think I would have at least one family member that then like a teacher or administrator would be like, oh, are you related to so-and-so? I'm like, oh, yeah. Nope. That never happened once, and we're all from here.
I got voted tallest in my class, so that was
how do you get voted tallest? You just get a fucking ruler. What kind of school did you go to? Jesus.
Yeah, type of school that would have that in it.
You know what I got voted? Wittiest.
What's that? I think I got funny too. Like I got two of them.
You strike me as somebody that probably didn't talk too much.
No, I was a troublemaker. I was very contrarian. Yeah.
No.
Not like a big troublemaker with like authority, just with my classmates. Like I didn't like popular things. I'm libertarian, born libertarian. So anything that was cool and trendy, that's stupid. You guys are stupid. Losers.
Yeah, but I would have just shit on you 24/7. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I'd get voted wittiest. I get voted wittiest exclusively because that's the guy that shits on that Dave kid. Yeah.
Fuck him.
Yeah, and then yeah. Oh man. Yeah, and then I went to college and then like got into music and stuff and nobody in my family was a musician. Nobody did music before. I didn't get that from anyone. It just
that's weird. You're different than everybody in your family.
I am definitely the black sheep in my family, but not like they're all successful and I'm a weird fucking freak. It's more that I went out and did things and had interests and hobbies, and all of them were like,
So Ryan's high school had most likely to become a terrorist. So that's something.
Wow. That's weird because terrorism didn't really become a big thing until like after 9/11, and Ryan's like super old, so he would have been like, he was already like 56 when 9/11 happened.
Yeah, he was like what was that? The Olympic Games where Iran took all those people. Maybe that was.
I could see that. Yeah. Best I could do is internet troll. Yeah. I mean, keeping in mind, like when 9/11 happened, I was a sophomore in high school. Because I graduated in 2004. However, this past year, this past year was my 20-year high school reunion, and I didn't go because I didn't want to kill myself.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet. A year later, 2025, not 2024.
Too soon.
You know what's really weird? I'll leave you with this final thought. Do your like classes or whatever like they keep up with who's died?
It's been happening. There was a few lately. Yeah, we got like a Facebook page where they'll post.
So I know that, I mean, it's morbid, but I know that a lot of people do that. They keep up with like, oh, we've lost this many from our class, or you know, so and so or whatever. We've had a very abnormally high number of people die from my graduating class. Keep in mind, we're still in our 30s, by the way.
Yeah, that's.
We've had a weirdly high number of people die. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, Aaron. Yikes.
Oh. Thanks a lot, Trump.
Wow. Yeah, right? Big facts. Just another reason why Massie's right and Trump is wrong.
Yeah.
I did go to our 10-year reunion because I felt like that's, if you're going to go to one, you go to the first one, the 10-year.
And then you get on with your life.
Yeah, and then you get on. Yeah. So I'm glad that I went to the 10-year. When the 20-year was coming up, I really put no thought into it at all. Never even crossed my mind. I saw some pictures of it. It kind of didn't look great. Like it wasn't anywhere nearly as well attended, you know, as the previous one. Yeah. A bunch of people came to the 10-year. Not a ton of people went to the 20-year one, and some of them were looking yikes. So
yeah, that happens. They all get old and stuff.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm still me and just great, but they're super old. Kid. Yeah, super old. Yeah, I don't know what's happening. That's something
living hard.
That's something that I've noticed more just in the last year or two. That I'll see people and I'll look at them, and since I'm me, and like you have your own inner monologue, you know,
and you look the same. Yeah,
I will look at people, and my inner monologue will say, "Oh, that's an older person, and this is a younger person." You know, like I don't know exactly how old they are, but like my inner monologue will say, "Oh, that's an older girl," but she's actually like 36, and I'm 39. Yeah. But my brain has classified her as, "Oh, she's the older girl."
Yeah,
you know, but. In all fairness, she fucking looks it, and I feel like I don't. And so it's like, well, what did you do, lady?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's your soul showing through. I think what happens.
Then why do I look the way I look?
Oh, I got something for this. Let me think. Because deep down inside, you're a sweetheart. You just carry this gruff exterior to protect your soft inner self.
Well, it's like I'm a fucking lobster. Was that?
Yeah, something like that.
Wow.
or Aaron, meth. She did meth. Maybe it was meth.
Yeah, she might have done a little meth. I mean, I'm not saying that like all of my classmates or all the people I see. I'm not really even talking about like my classmates. I'm more just like, you know, I'm sitting here scrolling through these fucking dating apps where the age is right there. Yeah. And I'm like, God, man, you know, like, you know, like there's a chick on here that's 32 years old. And I'm like, wow, you are old. She's 7 years younger than me, but my brain has categorized her as older lady because of the way she looks. Yeah.
I hit that weird thing where my doctor's younger than me. That's weird. Stuff like that happens.
Okay.
Yeah. That's a weird milestone.
It's like nurses should always be young and doctors should always be old. And I know I know that can't be But it feels like it should be.
In a perfect world. Yeah.
Yeah. Nurses should always be young and hot, and doctors should always be old.
Old and wise.
Yeah. Yeah. They're clearly not well, but they're your doctor.
Yeah.
I just explain that away as, in the same way that you or me would want what was best for someone else, but we're just going to eat a pizza. I don't give a fuck, it's the same thing. He wants what's best for you. He doesn't actually do any of that himself. He's telling you should do that.
Yeah, that's what you want. Yeah.
So that's why
my doctor isn't even like that. He's just like, no, you're doing fine. And I'm like, you sure? Because I feel like I'm drinking a lot. And they're like, yeah.
I thought we were working on that, Dave.
No, I'm doing good now. Yeah, I'm just saying back when last time I saw him.
Back when time you saw him 2 weeks ago? What are we talking about?
No, it's been a while. But
okay, all right.
He also said something where he's talking about somebody. He's like, and they passed away, and he's like, they lived a good life. Like, he was 52. He had a good run.
Wow.
I'm like, dude, that's.
Yeah, that's when your next checkup is scheduled.
Yeah, I should probably shop around a little.
Wow, my God. Well, I told you the story of when I went to go give blood one time, and they were like, "Hey, do you realize you have an irregular heartbeat?" And I was like, no. And they're like, "Well, now you do,
Yep.
Yeah. And so they were like, "Well," I was like, "Well, what should I do with this information?" And they're like, "Well, you should go to the hospital. Like, not like rush there like you're dying, but you should schedule an appointment at the hospital and say, I went to a place, they found an irregular heartbeat, and because they're gonna make you like run on the treadmill, and then they're gonna take pictures and
stress test,
all that stuff." So I did all that, and then they were like, "Okay, now we're gonna hook this monitor up to your chest." And it's gonna like be in this little pouch that you're gonna wear around your neck, and you're just gonna wear it for a couple of days, and then we take the info off of that, and then we do it again. Like, you run the treadmill, you take the pictures and all that. So I did all that, and then they never got back to me with any results.
That probably means it's fine,
That's what I assumed at the time. But what if it isn't?
What if you just slip through the cracks? They're like, "Oh, should have called that guy. I wonder if he's still around."
Because it's weird to even bring this up now, because for one, that's a true story that's not embellished at all. That 100% happened. And two, that was 17 years ago.
Oh.
So either.
Yeah.
So it was fine. Or
he had a good run.
Like it's coming down to the end of it. So Aaron wanted to make sure that it was clear that nobody is checking his balls unless they're older than him. To which Ryan said, "I'm older than you, Aaron."
Yeah.
And that might be where we have to end it tonight, I think.
Yeah, I think that'll do it.
Yeah.
Gonna dwell on that.
Yeah, I'm not gonna read that last one.